Hey guys, it's Sunday morning, March 5th, 2023. Looking at some comics here on this wonderful sunny Sunday morning. Here on the Tomb of Terror, coming to you once again live in color on the Gratu Orloff Inspirational Network. Um, Again, Stanley J. Kirby sent me some wonderful comics the other day, and been enjoying looking at this copy of The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. Now, I don't see this magazine being shown on YouTube that often, and in the 70s, I was really fascinated by the Marvel comic magazines, black and white magazines. Monsters Unleashed, I bought that in second grade. I think issue number 2, I was enthralled with it because I love monsters, and it had articles about monster movies like Famous Monsters did, and then it also had comics like Man Thing and The Monster of Frankenstein and stuff like that. And then there was Dracula Lives and Vampire Tales and The Haunt of Horror. And then Marvel got the license to do Planet of the Apes, and that was a lot of fun. The thing is, in the 70s, I was just, for some reason, I wasn't into Kung Fu movies simply because I'd never seen any. Kung Fu first was introduced to Western audiences in I guess was the very beginning of 67, early 66, when Green Hornet, which was the follow-up to the Batman TV series, hit the airwaves. And Bruce Lee played Kato, the Green Hornet's sidekick. And I think at that point it wasn't even solidified that Kung Fu started with a K, because I believe that Bruce Lee, in any press, when he talked about his fighting style, he called it Gung Fu, starting with a G. And again, I could be wrong. I don't know. But anyway, so that show wasn't as successful as they thought it would be. It only lasted one season. But Bruce Lee went back to Hong Kong and started making movies there, and then they were imported here, and then that's when that became a huge deal in the United States. Kung Fu movies, especially, started in the inner city, where these Kung Fu movies played in these old movie palaces that had fallen down quite a bit in repair, and now, sometimes homeless people slept in the theater all day because it was a place that was warm. But yeah, Kung Fu movies started to take off, and then the TV series Kung Fu with David Carradine started, about 72, and that was a big hit. And then, of course, when Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee's first American movie that was made like a James Bond movie, as I recall, he even got John Barry to do the soundtrack, like he's the James Bond music guy. Anyway, so by the mid 70s, Kung Fu was really big, but not in my world. I wasn't buying the Western comics and the Kung Fu comics. Of course, now I love Westerns and now I love Kung Fu, but of course I've now seen Kung Fu movies. There's no way for a kid in suburban San Antonio to see a Kung Fu movie in the 70s. It's just... But now I appreciate it. And The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, this is issue number... Oh, shoot. This is issue number 1. And it's got an amazing cover. I watched one of my videos the other day, and I tend to use the word amazing a lot. I make fun of other people for using words a lot, like, having said that, that being, is to make fun of that, but, yeah, I guess I use amazing a lot. Look at this ad, Kung Fu and Karate. You see this record that you would get? I bet you could find that record and listen to it on YouTube. Here's an ad for Dracula Lives, the magazine I was just talking about. But oh, and then I forgot to mention Tales of the Zombie, and of course Savage Sword of Conan were also two great. Maybe I should move this. You're actually sitting on a ladder, ladies and gentlemen. I've got the tripod mounted on a ladder. This is nothing professional here. Trying to get the light a little bit more dead on to where we're at. Okay, wonderful. So, look at this vampire bat. It's only $1.
That's a claim. I don't think that Red would agree with you on that, and it's his experiment. So I'd be curious, and that's why I want us to.
Yeah, they're showing all the magazines that have come out. I forgot to mention Crazy, which in the early days, Crazy was a good magazine. So Dracula Lives, Vampire Tales. Oh, and that was Monster Madness too, which was kind of a jokey. They had stills from monster movies with little jokes written. Oh, this record here is definitely 100% on YouTube. Invite your friends over for a haunting. It's you sent off to Gale House for this record, and you can listen to it on YouTube. I was amazed that Kevin at Gotham City Comics has someone's made like a made this in real life. This ghoul that was in this ad, someone's created one that's it's amazing. Yeah, Haunt of Horror had this Exorcist, Gabriel Devil Hunter. The Exorcist was also really big. Yeah, right about that time. Exorcist devil movies were popular, and Kung Fu was popular, and then about a year later, Jaws would hit, and that's when and giant animals from nature eating people movies became big. Because then you had, but they were Jaws was the big one, but then they had Grizzly, about a grizzly bear. They had Orca, about a killer whale. I'm trying to think what some of the other ones were. Oh, but then the big thing, which was just as big as the Kung Fu movies and the Exorcist movies, was the disaster movies. And that started really in 1970 with Airport. And then there was a sequel. The next one was Poseidon Adventure in 1972, about a big ship that capsizes, big luxury liner. Then, what was the next one? It was almost like 3 movies that were released almost simultaneously. There was Airport 1975, there was The Towering Inferno, and Earthquake. And I didn't see Earthquake in the theater because my mom thought this new process that they advertised called Sensurround, which they had these speakers with, I guess, a lot of bass that were installed in the theaters to make you actually feel like you're in an earthquake. Your seat would apparently shake. My mom thought maybe that's not a good thing for your ears or something. Who knows? Anyway, that's how Iron Fist was portrayed in the comics. The TV show on Netflix made him look more like the greatest American hero with like a weird red afro or something. I just remember he looked kind of goofy. But yeah, so you got these comics, Shang-Chi, and then there's articles about David Carradine and the Kung Fu TV show.
So you're saying that if we go and we find the right things.
There's actually quite a bit of articles in here. In fact, I think it's mixed with the comics. I would say it's about 50-50. The articles are a lot easier to produce. Someone could sit down at a typewriter in half an hour or an hour type out the article and then you just pop in the movie stills. Of course, the comics are going to take more time. There's an article about Fu Manchu, who was Shang-Chi's father in the comics. They changed that for the movie because they didn't, I guess, I don't know, either they didn't think Fu Manchu was politically correct or they didn't have the rights still. Although I think Fu Manchu could be public domain by this point, I don't know. But anyway, that's the, you don't often see a photograph of Sax Rohmer, the creator of Fu Manchu, and that's Boris Karloff, of course, playing him in great movie. So, article about Fu Manchu, lots of text material, and then it looks like it's the issue starts off with Iron Fist. There's a very malevolent-looking Fu Manchu looking down.
Another experiment we could do is by bringing in the sun. Okay, so this is a personal observation that I've made many times. And my question would be, if the Earth is flat.
These people on the TV are having a debate about whether the Earth is flat or not. It's like in 2023. It's like, gee, maybe if it was the year 1500, you could have that debate on YouTube. You know, back in the old days when YouTube first started about 600 years ago. But it's weird, you know. This is a channel I've been enjoying, the Earth Chronicles on Rumble, but they've got some wacky people on here they're debating that insist that the Earth is flat. That seems to be a lot of people lately coming out of the woodwork saying the Earth is flat. I guess the less we trust everything we've ever been taught, because as we realize that so much around us has just been total BS, I guess people starting to even question whether the Earth is flat. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to take that side of a debate. It's a little nutty in my opinion. Or as the youngsters say, IMO, and I had to realize how that means in my opinion. Oh, I just figured out, you know, that Tim Pool, it's always Timcast IRL, and it's like, what does IRL mean? So I have to look it up, and apparently IRL means in real life. And apparently there were all these channels that were devoted to video games and with people playing video games. But if you have a channel where you're just talking about what's really going on in the real world, not the virtual world of your video games, then that's in real life. You're actually talking about things that really actually kind of matter. So they came up, because you don't want to type out in real life, because that would take 3 seconds to type those letters. They've just reduced it to IRL. Everything becomes, everything has to be shortened. Kentucky Fried Chicken has to be KFC, you know, everything. Dairy Queen is DQ. But I think that's because people hear, well, dairy's unhealthy. I don't want to eat it if it says Dairy Queen. But if it's just DQ, then it's okay, because it doesn't say dairy, so it'll be all right. And, you know, I heard fried food is bad for you. Kentucky Fried Chicken, I don't know, but if it's KFC, it doesn't say fried, so I'm okay. Here's another copy of Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. Look at this perspective. You're getting kicked in the face by Chuck Norris's tennis shoe there. This is issue number 20. This is 20 issues later. That one was one. No, this I think is maybe a special album edition number 1. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, I could be wrong. I just need to look. Okay, this is a little bit later on, because I remember when this issue of Planet of the Apes came out, and that introduced that Star-Lord thing, and this Sherlock Holmes was a magazine that came out. That was really good. Look at this. Look at that guy. That's a pretty strange looking guy. This artist is pretty good. This looks like the artist that used to do Luke Cage. Let's see if it is. Who is this artist? Look at this ad. Become a registered black belt. The deadliest men alive are Ikondo men. The combat system that can change your life. Distilled from ancient fighting arts, sold nationally at $9.95. Now only $6.95, ladies and gentlemen. There's an article on the movie The Killer Elite, which I have never seen. It's a Sam Peckinpah movie. Sam Peckinpah doing a martial arts movie, and yet I've never seen it. I think I've heard of it, but I'm sure it was an R-rated movie, and I didn't see R-rated movies when I was in 4th grade, which is, this could have been when I was in 5th grade. A world of excitement. World of Marvel black and white magazines. Marvel Preview had Sherlock Holmes, you had Crazy, Doc Savage, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, Planet of the Apes, Savage Sword of Conan. This has got to be 75. This could possibly be 1976. Let's gotta get these stupid dollar store reading glasses on to figure that out.
Does the sun change in size?
In not actual size, angular size.
1975. But could I go? Oh, January 76.
Right, because of your.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like we're saying.
So comic, whatever date they have printed in the magazine, the magazine was out on the stands a couple of months before that. So if it says January 76, it was out on the stands before Thanksgiving in November of 75. So yes, this magazine came out after I moved, during my 5th grade year, after I'd moved from San Antonio to Washington State, to Tacoma. And I didn't buy these magazines. Now I have 2 of the great Kung Fu magazines. I remember seeing them on the stands, but I didn't know anything about it. This is a Ken Barr, the artist Ken Barr doing Bruce Lee fighting Chuck Norris. And I remember you could always order this Bruce Lee t-shirt. So, they have an interview with Chuck Norris.
Nathan, I'd like to answer this.
Oh, I was still looking for that artist. I got distracted by the ads. I'm wondering if it's this artist named Billy Graham that used to work for, used to do Luke Cage. No, artist George Perez and Jack Abel. Okay, so it's George Perez. And this would be kind of early work for George Perez, wouldn't it? George Perez, Jack Abel. So it's the beginning, Sons of the Tiger, featuring the White Tiger. I think he started in the Spider-Man comic, didn't he? As I recall, my memory is shaky and tenuous. Yeah, Billy Graham was a really great artist. He was an African-American artist that drew the Luke Cage Hero for Hire comic when in the early years, early 70s of that comic. Ooh, this is pretty good art here. Look at that. Yeah, he wasn't Billy Graham, the famous evangelist. These people arguing that it's a flat Earth are absolute morons, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, let's see who this artist is. It looks like it's a Filipino artist. Is it Alfredo Alcala? Could be. No, Rudy Nebris. Yeah, the Filipino artists have a distinctive style, which is wonderful. It's interesting how you can kind of spot artists that come from certain parts of the world have similar styles. May just be a cultural thing. This is great. really appreciate this. Stanley J. Kirby, he lives Stanley J. Kirby lives a couple hours away from me. And we keep talking about meeting up and going to comic stores. It's just a matter of, you know, the economy and gas prices, you know. But who knows? Maybe we'll have a new president. Maybe. Hope we can't say maybe. You know, we will have a new president in 2 years. And, saw Trump speak last night. It was a masterful speech at CPAC. And by the way, speaking of Billy Graham, the artist and the evangelist that is, of course, the more famous Billy Graham. So every time you look at a Hero for Hire comic and you see the artist by Billy Graham, you laugh because you imagine the guy you saw on Sunday morning drawing this comic strip. But speaking of Billy Graham, on Sunday mornings I've been doing these. I've been trying to do like a religious thing where I read from the Bible and stuff, but I think it's just coming across very. I'm coming across like I'm being sacrilegious, and I don't mean to do that because I have this sense of humor where I joke about things, but I was trying to be very serious with all that because I think it's very important that we keep our eyes on God and we read the Bible. But I think I'm just a total novice, and I need to really get reading more of the Bible more often, in addition to the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. Before, I just don't want to make myself look like a boob and make it look like to people that don't understand my sense of humor that I'm being disrespectful, because I certainly wasn't meaning to be. I was trying to be very sincere. But I don't know. I mean, how it came across, I would do little, I'd have sound effects, and I'd have it, you know, sponsored by Dr. Pepper and stuff, and I don't know, that probably is not really cool, I guess. I don't know. But I'm trying to make this show, The Tomb of Terror, more wholesome, and not, you know. So, whatever, dude, this is really good if your food is bland, ladies and gentlemen, that you sprinkle a little bit of this on your food, and it will improve the taste. It has a chicken recipe. This flavor is Food Topper. Natural ingredients, grain-free, and it's human grade. Oh, I don't know why there's a picture of a dog on there. It's perfectly okay to put on. Actually, you sprinkle this on dog food if your dog doesn't like it, and then they start gobbling it. I don't know what they put in it, but thought I'd show that since it was sitting here. Whew. Well, let's head on upstairs, shall we? Let's turn off these lights. Okay. As of yesterday, I made some progress up in the comic book room cleaning, but then, you know, I got to talking to friends on a live stream. I may do a live stream here in a few minutes, but it'll take a while to upload this program, so probably this program will pop up after the live stream. Okay.
So we're going to go over to your model that I don't plan, and we're going to, I want you to
So,
now, you can come up with a laundry list.
Let's see what we can do here.
That you think are explained by the globe model, which we have effectively just debunked. But just because it makes predictions in your mind does not mean.
So I'm trying to think what interesting stuff's been going on. There's a Ant-Man movie playing at the local movie theater. Now, I love Marvel Comics. I love Ant-Man. I like the first two movies. This movie's supposed to be desperately bad. We were going to go see it Friday. Then we were going to see it Saturday. And then when a movie plays, it only plays 3 times. It's a little movie theater that the movie theater. Well, actually, the movie theater was built by someone named Timby. He's the same guy that built this house that I'm in. He built it like in the 1890s, and I don't know what the building was used for. But then in the silent movie era, it was turned into a movie theater. And it was still a movie theater. It may have stopped being a movie theater and became a movie theater again, or maybe it was a movie theater straight through into the 50s, 60s. I think even the 1970s, because I've got some ads for movies playing there in the 50s, late 50s. Like I've got a little ad from that theater where this movie here, I Married a Monster from Outer Space, was playing at the theater, the Princess Theater down the street from me. And then I guess it was closed down. It was turned into, I don't know, different businesses. At one point, I think it was kind of a bar club where bands played. And then I guess the community got together in the 90s or maybe early 2000s and decided to turn it back into the original movie theater. So they did a good job. It's very comfortable. It's very nice watching a movie there. But it's not like you're going into an original theater and seeing what it looked like in the 40s and 50s, because it's all newly done to look like an old theater. And you're in an old building that used to be a theater. It's not the original chairs. It's not the original decor on the walls or ceiling, because that building had been completely gutted. And anyway, it's a very nice theater. But anyway, it's run by the community. And so they get a movie, and they'll play. Sometimes they'll have to keep the movie, contractual obligation with the studio. They'll have to keep it 2 weekends. The movie theater's only open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They play the movie at 7 o'clock on Friday, and only one showing. They'll play the movie at 7 o'clock Saturday. Again, only one showing. And on Sunday, they'll have a matinee like at 2 in the afternoon. So do I go see that movie at 2 today? I don't know. It may be, I have to look on Facebook. They may be playing it again next weekend, in which case maybe we could go see it. But, it's like, do I really want to go to a movie just to make myself angry? Because I'm angry all the time anyway, just because of what's happening in the government, about what's happening to my beloved comic books, and how Hollywood, everything seems to be terrible today. So do I really want to go and rub my nose in it? My wife put a movie on last night that was terrible. I fell asleep because I was really tired. But it was just, it's some new Brad Pitt movie that was on. She hated it too, but I think she watched through to the end. It's a movie about old Hollywood. It's in the 20s, and I guess it, about the sound era coming in. And I think I think later in the movie it got into, it went further on in the movie, in Los Angeles' history. But anyway, it was just a terrible, decadent movie. Really tasteless movie. It reminded me, what it reminded me is of the Warren magazine, 1984, where it was just a lot of stuff just in it, just horrible stuff. Hated it. Very just filled with everything inappropriate, just done for purely prurient interest. And I know that it was a very decadent time in the 1920s in Hollywood, but it wasn't that decadent, and it wasn't everyone in Hollywood. It was some people. See, my wife is calling. Let me go see what's up. I want to show this for Charlton 66. Steve sent me this nice radio here. I just wanted to show where it wound up. This radio works, so I may move it somewhere else. But right now, it's like the radio that's surrounded by the Munsters. Some of my Munsters stuff. And this flapper, speaking of the 1920s. Okay. Oh, she sent me a text message. She says, I was just going to tell you to go ahead and get breakfast. I better go up there and talk with her real quick. Here, I'll put you down where you can. I'll put you down here while I go up and talk to my wife real quick. All right. Be right back.
Solar filters, keeping it tuned, following it and tracking it, doesn't change a bit. So we can eliminate the issue of glare and perspective and human eye limitations and all of that because we have a device that can actually show that it does not change angular size. That is a major problem for the flat Earth model.
No, it's not. It's not a major problem.
Eliminates that.
No, hang on.
How does the sun work?
No. What, I'm the guru now? I have to have all the answers?
No,
Okay.
Magic, I love you, man, but you're not a guru.
But just think about what you're requiring right now, okay? We have already gotten to the point where you are completely stymied when it comes to showing that there's curvature of any kind. As visible, I mean,
I think we disagree on that. Disagree to disagree.
Yeah,
fine.
that's going nowhere. We want to talk
Let's
about.
go out there and actually test this hypothesis.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
The test has
Before
been
we
done.
say
I mean,
it's
my God, the test has been done. They've
Have
been
you
done.
done the test, Patrick?
By people that don't know what they're doing, Patrick. By people that don't know what they're doing.
That's right. Have you done the test? Have you gone out there and done the test?
I have not done the test myself.
Okay, so how about this? Is information warfare a thing that happens these days?
Yes.
So how do we know that
I will do the test
we're
first.
seeing on the video?
I want concession though that when we do show, because I'm gonna have to demonstrate the actual maps here, because when we
And I
do
would
this,
love that, by the way.
all right, very well. But here's the other thing. When you do see angular size change in the sun, which you can observe under a bunch of instances where the sky is, where the air is very, very dry, will you agree that it is much more consistent with a moving or more local sun than with a stationary ultraviolet radiation sun? Would you agree? Would you agree that the change in angular size of the sun, air conditions, because whether the air is magnification, but a fly air example of the sun getting smaller.
Okay. She was saying to. She sent me a text message. Go ahead and get breakfast. You know, she wants to get more sleep. Because she didn't get to sleep till like 6 in the morning. And it's 8 right now in the morning, so she wants to get some sleep. So I said, well, you sure? I'll go ahead and get a breakfast burrito at Casey's, which is this, it's not just a gas station, it's more like a general store and gas station. And she said, heck with it, get me one too. So I'm going to go get burritos for both of us. And you guys can come along with me. I'll show you the theater I'm talking about. So, come with me if you dare. Let's turn off the lights. Because every time you turn on a light, Greta Thunberg cries. And then gets arrested. Stages an arrest to make herself look good. All right. So,
I'm not saying the sun itself shrinks and expands and changes and turns into.
well, I like listening to kooks, man. I'll listen to this kind of debates all day. I'm not saying the sun shrinks and expands. No, I'm a rational person. Okay. Yeah, buddy. Let's get the shoes on. I think it's a little chilly out there today. So I have to get 2 burritos and maybe I'll get some. These aloe vera drinks are really delicious, and it might be something to help me kick soft drinks.
Very simple observation that we could make.
And they might be slightly healthy. I don't know. Probably not. If they taste good, they probably aren't too healthy, right, ladies and gentlemen? I'll keep an eye out for you. That should be, I should use that. I should use that gag. All right. Well, I think we have enough electricity stored in the telephone device that we can go there and back, possibly. It's a little chilly out here. Okay. Look at the sun coming through the clouds. Pretty shit. Excuse my language for this one. Okay.
Large temperature range is forecast for Monday with highs again in the 30s northwest to the 60s southeast. Increasing clouds with a low in the lower 30s. North-northeast winds around 50
Right now
miles
it's
per hour,
37
with gusts as high
degrees
as
Fahrenheit.
23 miles per hour. For Tuesday, mostly cloudy with a high in the upper 40s. Northeast wind around 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 23 miles per hour. For Tuesday night, rain mainly visitor midnight.
Per hour. Cloudy skies expected tonight. Isolated thunderstorms likely. Lows around 34. Cloudy tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 42. About
Tell me, what year are those 1960s trucks? Or are they 1970s trucks? I can tell you cars, but trucks and a little.
Landscape of media has
You tell
changed,
me.
and
These
people
are
are
belong
more
to the
skeptical than ever about where they get their news and information.
very interesting
While major
looking
news
collection.
outlets show decreasing credibility, your local farm radio station still shows strong marks. In a recent survey, farmers rated information from their farm broadcasters as almost twice as reliable as major news outlets. Farm radio
All right, we're
continues
still
to be
recording.
transparent, honest, and trustworthy. This message brought to you by the National Association of Farm Broadcasters.
I'd love to listen to this, but I'm afraid it'll give me a copyright warning.
Visitation to the Queen Community Center on Monday with lunch and
There's the local library.
Immediately following the service. That is for Dennis Thornton coming up on Monday at 11 a.m. A massive Christian burial for Albert Al.
Here's the Princess Theater I was telling you about.
Tuesday at 11 a.m. at the SS Peter and Paul Catholic
It's,
Church in Atlantic.
Playing Ant-Man and the Wasp.
From 9 to 6, the Schmidt Family Funeral Home in Atlantic. Services for Albert
Quantumania.
Ross, Tuesday at 11 a.m. A graveside service for Ruth Dunbar, 88 of Grotto, formerly of Hastings, will be Thursday morning at 10 a.m. at the North Grove Cemetery in Hastings. Again, service for Ruth Dunbar, Thursday at 10 a.m. Those services are planned for Shirley Meek, 78 of
Small town radio
formerly of
stations list
Hanford.
that tell you when
Again, no
funerals are
services
going to be.
planned
You don't get that in
for
big
Shirley
towns.
Meek. A celebration of life service will be held at a later date for Merle Woods, 89 of Tabor. Nelson Blow and the Red Funeral Chapel in Red Oak in charge of that service at a later date for Merle Woods. Services are pending at this time for Velma Cox, age 102 of Manitowoc, Wisconsin, formerly of Corning. The Pearson Family Funeral Service.
This is the
Information
big highway
Center in
that goes
Corning
through
in
town.
charge of the pending
It's not
service.
very busy, but it's got little hills, and sometimes cars can come quickly over the hills, and sometimes there are wrecks here. But so you've got to be careful here. The highest speed you can go is 35 miles per hour here in town on this highway, but yeah, it's not the highway that you would probably be used to. Anyway.
Atlantic is scheduled for Saturday, March 18th. That'll take place from 1 to 4 at the Anita Community Center at 805 Main Street in Anita. Memorials to be made to the family.
There's the Dairy Suite. It's closed for the winter, but I guess it'll open maybe in March or April.
Coming up on
And
Saturday,
then it has wonderful ice
March
cream.
18th from 1
It's
to
like a
4
Tasty
in
Freeze.
Anita. Well, there's a checkup. Your KMA Land local. With the news, funeral notices, community calendar, ag information, and much more, all you have to do so is call 712-246-2010.
Yes, indeed.
KMA on demand. Again, the number is 712-246-2010.
51 miles to John Wayne's birthplace in Winterset. Look at this beautiful Sunday morning sky.
And clicking on the funerals tab, you'll always be able to find those.
Look at the sun coming in through the clouds. That's beautiful. I don't know if you're getting it.
I'm not. Employees are the core to the
the phone
success of
here.
Kawasaki Maryville. And Kawasaki treats their employees well by providing great
This
benefits
is
and
Casey's.
wages, generous hiring bonuses,
On March
and
5th,
endless room to grow in
2023,
your
when
career.
gas is
Kawasaki
$3.04.
focuses on workplace values, accountability, and personal development. Don't just work a
I'll
job.
go in there and get a
Build your
couple of
career
breakfast
today with
burritos, go back,
Kawasaki
take them to my
Maryville.
wife.
Go to
You guys can watch me eat, then we'll look at some
KawasakiMaryville.com
comic
and
books.
Kawasaki Maryville is an equal
They make really good
opportunity
pizza
employer.
here.
DirtDoctor.com.
All right. I don't know how to edit, so it's not gonna happen. You're gonna sit here like a dog in the car while I go in, and that's not very respectful to my viewers. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, look at this. I look like Fonzie, man. Wow. Okay. Speaking of Fonzie, I'll tell you about something here when I get back in the car. you know how people are always nostalgic for their youth and stuff that happened about 20 years before, right? You know, so thus they're grown men buying Pokemon cards and I don't know, all into He-Man and all that crap. Even though that I'm thinking back a little bit more than 20 years ago. But anyway, point taken. Well, Pokemon was about 20 years ago. Okay, so in the 70s, there was not just kung fu and disaster movies and what was I saying? There were other, shark movies popular. There was a big 50s revival, like all this 50s nostalgia. People that were teenagers in the 50s were now in their, I don't know, late 30s maybe. So there was a sitcom on, Happy Days on television. Happy Days started as a pilot for a series that, and it didn't take off, but, well, here's the thing, it was with Ron Howard. There was a different guy playing his dad, but the guy that played Potsy, Anson Williams, was in it. But anyway, they used it instead, the pilot, on an episode of Love American Style, which was an anthology show, the comedic stories about love and stuff. And I think it was called Love in the Happy Days. And then George Lucas made American Graffiti right about that same time with Ron Howard, and it took place in 1962, but really it was the 50s, because it was pretty much about the 50s, right? And how things were starting to change as the 60s started. And that was a huge hit. And then apparently they said, well, let's that pilot with Ron Howard, why don't we make that into a series? And so anyway, so Happy Days was a series very much influenced by American Graffiti, right? But from what I know, it's like, so is that what started it? I think in my mind, being a kid back in the 70s, I thought that American Graffiti set off all the 50s nostalgia. But now I'm starting to realize in the last few weeks that I'm wrong. What really was going on, well, I knew that hippies hated 50s music. The hippies of the 60s didn't like the 50s. That represented to them a time of conformity, of stifling. Well, actually, everything that I think is great about the 50s, they despise. But anyway, there was I forget, some college, some glee club up at some college. Damn, I can't remember. It was some up on the East Coast. I don't know if it was an Ivy League university, but anyway, they started. This group of guys started doing these 50s songs, and then they actually put together a group called, I think it was Columbia. I think they were the Columbia Kingsmen. But, there was already a band called the Kingsmen that did Louie Louie, a cover of Louie Louie that was a big hit. So they changed their name to Sha Na Na. Now, I remember Sha Na Na. I thought they came along later, that they were, kind of riding on the Happy Days wave of nostalgia. That they had this cheesy show that was syndicated, that was kind of like Hee Haw, except instead of country music, it was 50s music. And I remember that was on in the later 70s, and they had some good guest stars like the Ramones and stuff. There's a lot of episodes, if not all of them, available on YouTube. So, but then I found out that at Woodstock, Jimi Hendrix was the final act at Woodstock, but Jimi Hendrix had become enamored of this group Sha Na Na. He thought they were fun, so he asked for them to come on right before he came on, the second to last act on at Woodstock on that, I guess, Saturday night was Sha Na Na, and the audience loved them. You can see they were like all these hippies at Woodstock. This 50s band comes out, they're like, at first they're stunned that this is it before them, and then they really get into it and start singing these songs that they remember from when they were, 10 years old or whatever, these hippies being probably about 19, 20 years old. And so I think that's what really set off the 50s nostalgia, because there was a movie made, there was a big Hollywood movie that was made of Woodstock, and it shows them performing one of their songs, and shows the audience loving it. So I think Woodstock was Sha Na Na, and then because of that, on Broadway the play Grease debuted, and then so it really, there was Sha Na Na, then there was there was not off Broadway, but I guess Broadway. I don't know, what do I know, off Broadway, Broadway. So the Grease movie didn't come along until 1978, which was well into the 50s nostalgia. But so the actual real chronology would have been Sha Na Na, Grease, Happy Days, American Graffiti, Happy Days, and all that. So that's the 50s nostalgia wave of the 70s. There's also a 1930s wave of nostalgia in the 70s, to a certain degree, for people that were in their 50s that were nostalgic about their youth. Yeah, that's what I've figured out. Set the camera down somewhere. All right, I'll be back. So I was caught up in that 50s wave of nostalgia as a kid, and learned to love the 50s music more than I did the music that was coming out at the time. So what happened is my brother bought the soundtrack to American Graffiti, a double album with fantastic music on it, and he didn't have a record player, or I did have my childhood record player, and at that time in the 70s, records were starting to be made in a very inferior way. You'd buy a record, and as soon as you took the shrink wrap off, the first time you played it, there'd be ticks, pops, sometimes even skips in the record because they're making it with cheaper vinyl. They may even stop you. It's just so shitty. I mean, it was inferior. So, sorry for the language. So my brother said, play through this record and see if it's okay, if it skips. I think he had to return one copy, and anyway, the second copy was played fine, and I played it over and over again, and I still own that record. I mean, he bought it, but it never was like put into his collection because he went off to college like almost immediately. So I learned to love the music of Buddy Holly and all that. So yeah, I'm addicted to this slop. I just can't stop. You know, also keep me kind of awake. As soon as this camera runs out on this, and I switch to a new episode of this ridiculous broadcast here, I'll probably start a live stream. So you may be watching this show and then see a live stream popping up, or, you know, come on, get on that. So this is a loaded breakfast burrito, ladies and gentlemen. So, that was another thing. Right around, what was it, 1972, the John Waters movie Pink Flamingos comes out, which the first time I saw that movie, it was like I was horrified. And then I thought more about it, and I thought, I got to see that movie again. And then, of course, the second time I enjoyed it. The first time I was filled with horror and dread. But it was interesting. See, you've got to know about the history of the times. You know, you collect these comics, you know, you got to understand the time period they come out in. And you got to, I really think the comics are just one part of the spectrum. You got to be into the music and the comics and the movies of the time. Anyway.
Because it's already assuming that the Earth is curved.
If this phenomenon is happening, there's a contradiction
Well,
that shows itself for the flat.
John Waters puts up Pink Flamingos. He loads it with 50s music. Divine's walking down the street, and The Girl Can't Help It is playing by Little Richard and all this music. That the hippies of that time, although they loved Sha Na Na, they may have just been, it's just a novelty for them. They really didn't like the 50s, and so when he was playing that 50s music, it was like an FU to the hippies. And because he was doing everything he could to annoy, shock, and horrify the audience. And if 50s music would have grated on the nerves of a hippie, but that's one of the things I loved about that movie is the soundtrack.
What's the first step in the scientific method?
Having said that, that being said, I don't recommend that you go out and watch Pink Flamingos based on my recommendation, because you might think I'm insane. It's a movie that very few people, I don't know, be careful with that one.
I know it's painful. Nothing to study the cause of. I know it's painful when you're wrong.
I don't think I'm a big YouTube influencer, or that people write down what I say to go out and watch. I really don't think that people care, so maybe I'm being pretentious.
It's just a fourth attempt for me to say you're wrong. That's an incorrect assertion. He has the question. Can't get anywhere. Can't get anywhere. All right, guys. Maybe you're on your seats because I honestly happen. This is gonna happen. I'm not allowed to correct. He asked a question. No. It wasn't wrong. He asked you a question.
This obnoxious British guy's been complaining this whole episode about how many times he's been interrupted. Well, here's just interrupting people just now.
Rumble rants. We got some rumble rants. How do I find them? Where did they go? Oh, I guess I missed out on them.
He's the guy that thinks the Earth is flat.
Sorry, bear with me.
He doesn't like to be contradicted.
For $1 said the retrograde orbits of Venus and Mars is difficult to explain on a flat Earth, but easy to explain.
Yeah, the 1970s.
Orbits.
There was a lot of cool stuff in the 1970s. It's hard to believe, but
I now believe the Earth is flat. Thanks a lot, fellas. Like I didn't have enough things going on. LOL. The round Earth guys are just talking over and have no arguments. They are looking foolish to me. All right, thanks, Bruiser. What else we got here?
I really think,
Number one, picture bird. Being arrogant negates your
That-
intellect. Super disappointing.
of course, the Silver Age comics were the best. But as far as the 70s, I think the 70s, it kind of peaked right around, to me, 73, 74, maybe 72 through 74, right when I was starting to move from the Marvel horror to the Marvel superheroes. That just seems like a wonderful era. And maybe just because I was a little kid, first discovering this magic of these comics. If you were a kid in the 90s, maybe that Rob Liefeld era is just like the bee's knees for you.
All of that. Okay. All right. So those are our Rumbles days. Thank you so much for that. Thanks for tuning
I don't
in.
know.
And let me just do this. Let's do, because I know everybody's got to run, like a 60-second closing statement to wrap it up. And let's start with Patrick.
Let's see what these morons are saying here.
Seeing the same fallacy over and over again. We talked about the curve. And every single time we had one of two things. One, it was argued that you can't see the curvature because it's insignificant, which is untrue. Or that I have pictures that look like there's curve. And then we had a situation where nobody wants to just take a telescope and say, if we can see at this great distance, then there is no curvature. It's that simple. And there are two other major arguments that we didn't even get a chance to get to. One, there is no evidence of axial rotation. And two, there is no evidence that the sky is a vacuum, because then the air we breathe would fill the space and we would all be dead. Thank you.
His mic's not on.
I think you're muted, Josh. I can't hear you.
Josh, I can't hear you,
So I
Josh.
said over to Nathan. Nathan, it's you, man. Go.
Oh, Nathan.
Oh, my bad. Right, okay, sorry. Yeah, the main way we've been poisoned into belief of the sphere is by misapprehensions about what the scientific method is. It was very appropriate that I just got muted by the host when trying to correct him on observation, being professor of the scientific method is wrong. It's observation of something occurring, so you can establish the cause of the effect. Through systematic experimentation based on a valid hypothesis. That is science. It's empirical, and the illusion of science has been used to deceive you into believing that things like blink tests have empiricism behind them when they don't. If you want to find out more about how you've been deceived into believing you're on a sphere by way of pseudoscience, that's defined as a claim
Oh,
of
boy.
science when there has not been an application of the scientific method, then
Oh.
come to the debate on Nathan Opie 1980. You can even join. There's a link published to the public every single day that you can join the debate and express your views on the nature of Earth. Thank you very much indeed to Josh and David for having me. You've been extremely tolerant, and although it's difficult to hear us proving you wrong, and I've been muted many times in the past, I still thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and thank you, Patrick, for inviting me along.
Be right back.
Josh.
Look at us talking there, thanking Patrick and Nathan. But no, listen, Nathan, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Seriously, I do. Because if this is really about the truth, then let's find the truth. Am I right on that? If this is really about the truth, let's find the truth. But I would say, like, let's do this again. We can come back and touch on the other issues that Patrick was talking that we didn't get to, right? But also, and I know that you said there's no flat Earth model that you guys absorbed. That's great. But let's just have the assumption that we don't know whether the Earth is flat or round. And let's figure out some tests that we can do to determine whether it is either or. And I don't think that that's a horrible thing. And I know, Nathan, you want to say some stuff on this. But I'm just saying is I think that everybody can understand it. There we are. That if there is tests we can do, let's do that. And if there is tests that we can't do because either one's not going to prove either that, then we're all wrong. Nobody does know. And so I think that we can use this. And by the way, observation, I understand what you were saying in the sense of observation of phenomena, but observation is the kind of like the taking of your senses of the change of the external environment. So that is a phenomenon. So observation really does define actually what observation is. So, but either way, is we can use the observational evidence, the observational things that come into us, self-evident truth that we see within ourselves. And we can develop various different models.
Here's Drew the dog.
Curved Earth or flat Earth.
Hi, Drew.
And we can come back and we can say, hey, look, the Earth is flat because, or the Earth is curved because. I think that would be a very healthy thing
So,
to do for this group of men here who have.
We've got to pause this and go on to the next episode, so we can't go upstairs till they stop yakking. Meantime, let's look over here. I'll show you some stuff that maybe you haven't seen or haven't seen in a little bit.
And we compare that. And we see what makes the most sense.
There's some Doc Savage reprints back there, and
I want to be.
let's see.
Right? And that doesn't come about by yelling at each other and arguing.
That's my father's airborne lighter.
We all understand that. And I think that we all can have a great discussion about this. But let's try to develop a format for this. Testing it. David and I can run some tests. Nathan and Patrick can run some tests. And we can come back and say, hey, look, this is what we found. This is what the data says. And let the audience and ourselves all decide from that. Does that sound like a good idea?
Sounds like a good idea. Yeah. Anything else, Josh?
No, I appreciate Nathan and Patrick. I mean, I think that I go by Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's taking in new information, so you don't just fall into the same.
Yeah, Romans 12:2. Yeah, that is a good passage.
Information warfare that's going on is key. We don't want to react to our environment. We want to be completely consciously active within it. And I think it's important to hear different perspectives and different points of mathematics and how this actually works, right? Because science is not set in stone. You know, in the late 19th century, oh, absolutely.
This is my older brother that bought that American Graffiti album. This is my oldest brother
Obviously, Einstein came along, and I
just
honestly,
passed
by the way,
away.
Nathan, I disagree with the majority of Einstein. And then maybe that'd be a great discussion to talk about that someday, right? But here's the thing, is science is not set in stone. Science is a dynamic system that's continuously changing. And I think you understand that as well, in the sense that if we're going to look at the Earth, that we're evolving our information on it. That's a dynamic system. It's continuously changing as more information comes into the system. That's systems theory. Yes, that is very true. As more information comes in, you have more understanding of that system if you can extrapolate that data in a meaningful form. Anyways, I just say that next time we go about it, let's come and have a format. Let's have maybe Nathan and Patrick come back and say, Josh and David, this is this. We come up with some tests, and Josh and David go back to Nathan and Patrick and say, hey, if the Earth is flat, this is what we're looking at. This is what we would expect. Can you show us? And I think we go into it like that, because I think that would bring about a good basis for the audience to make a determination, as well as our own selves.
Yes, exactly. And just so you know, guys, still love you, Nathan. You know, we had a good sparring match. I was told by John that this had.
Oh boy.
And I think we hit over like 4,000 viewers.
What else is amazing?
Well done, mate.
Not much. Yeah, I used the word amazing again, which I promised I wouldn't do. Oh, we're running low on electricity. Let's get you plugged in.
We're all investigating truth together. My focus personally is what's happening on the Earth, regardless of its shape. I'm not saying that this discussion isn't important, but I think we can all agree that we are living in an age of tyranny, lies, and deception, and it's up to each and every one of us to utilize our minds and every part of ourselves to try to find out what is the truth. And in doing that, it's important to look at the opposite opinion of what you currently hold and test yourself constantly against it. The last thing I'm going to drop here is just an address to people in the chat and other people that have sent me that look at this from a more religious perspective. That wasn't the topic of today's debate. I'm not going to bring it up any more than this. Just to give you someone that I agree with on his position. His name's Giordano Bruno, and he was actually burnt at the stake
freak out of fright.
1600 for going against the dogma of the church. And this is what he had to say. He says, God is infinite, so his universe must be too.
See Dracula change into a bat and fly into the audience among you.
Of his kingdom made manifest. He is glorified not in one.
Oh, I wish I could do lettering this good. That's really excellent.
But in 1,000,000, I say.
See, this Princess Theater is not the Princess Theater that you just saw. This is in Bloomington. Where's Bloomington, Indiana? I think so. And I have another one over here that's also a Princess Theater, but it's in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. So there's more than a few Princess Theaters around in the country. This spook show is at the Center Theater in Albemarle. I don't know what state that's in. This one's Watson Theater in Salina. I'm not sure where that is. Yeah, it's cool when you've got the theater on there. The Delft Theater in Iron River. You know where Iron River is? Because if you were there more than a few decades ago, you could have seen this amazing show. Oh, I used amazing again. No one ever points out how much I use amazing. Maybe because people are nicer than I am about, I don't know, I just get irritated hearing catchphrases. Lexington Drive-In Theater in Lexington, Kentucky. Oh, they stopped talking. Okay, so that was episode 6. So I need to pause and go to episode 7. Let's see, we've got an hour and 49 minutes left on this disc. Let's see if episode 7 is less than that. There it is. Let's see. That's an hour and 35 minutes. So this is a show called The Earth Chronicles. Let's see.
Good quality us up with for
They have these little musical interludes at the beginning, which
and to really hit the mainstream.
all right. We'll start recording and we'll head on upstairs. We've got we're at an hour and 12. I hope that music's not copywritten. If it is, I might as well play the radio in the car. All right. Looks like we have all the lights turned off down here, so we're clear. Well, we're back. Okay, delightful. Great. All right. I think during the live stream, I'm going to start organizing some Archie comics and some Charlton comics. Possibly. Okay. Well, we're back in the comic room where I will usually stream from on the Four Color Fossils show on Wednesday night. And get some light, get some electricity going into the phone. All right. So first I have this Thrilling Crime Cases, number 43. which is that's just a great logo, man. Thrilling Crime Cases. Okay, so where was I putting Golden Age Comics? Was it in here? I bought a bunch of model kits from someone on eBay, a bunch of airplanes and stuff, and they sent all these along where they'd cut off the tops of the cardboard box that the model kit came in, because model kit boxes were always hard to store. Once you built your model kit, if you liked the artwork, sometimes kids would cut out that and then they could keep it on their wall or somewhere, or put it behind the model, because the box took up a lot of space, and that's why sometimes people will pay more for an empty model kit box than they will for the actual model, because the boxes are more rare, because kids just didn't save the boxes back then. I was even guilty of that with the Aurora dinosaur model kits and caveman model kits of the early 70s. I would cut the picture of the saber-toothed tiger off the front after it was built, but I wouldn't save the box because it took up a lot of room in the closet. Now I know better, you know. What is this? Haunted Holidays from the Discovery Travel Channel. I guess they go through all different parts of the country where there are haunted houses. There's Williamsburg, Virginia. I don't remember where I got this book. This picture scared me when I was a kid. I got this book from Scholastic Press of true ghost stories, and that was on the cover, and it's supposed to be a real photograph of a ghost going down the stairs. And I'll tell you, I didn't sleep for a couple of nights. That book scared the heck out of me. Now, no ghosts had been sighted here in this building. Someone that I trust slept in this room and saw a pretty, from the description, horrible ghost or entity in this very room. But nothing's appeared to me. So hopefully that was just a fever dream, nightmare, or whatever you call it. Oh, I'm putting in the wrong password in my computer. Because I'm not thinking. All right. So, this book goes somewhere, and instead of the floor, which is where it was. So I'm gradually building back better, because Klaus Schwab says, you ever listen to this guy that advises Klaus Schwab? His name is Yoel Harari or something. Yeah, all these chumps think that they're basically God, and they're gonna download your mind into a computer. It's all oh wow, horrible Israel. Putting books there. What's in this box? Oh, look. It's Gratu Orloff. That should go over here. What do we got here? Bunch of bubblegum cards. You have your complete set of Desert Shield cards. You imagine. Okay. Here's a, where did I get this from? I don't think I really paid $3.99 for this Charlton Phantom, although it's certainly worth it. Okay. what is in this box? These are Gold Key comics. So where's the lid to this box? You know, we got Little Monsters. I've shown these before. Question is, should I show them again? Do I have a felt tip in my pocket? No. Okay. Okay, these are DC War comics in this box. So let me move that one. All right, reposition you. Shit. Sorry. Gosh, G. Willikers. Okay, DC War books. Okay, those are fantastic. The hell was that? Oh. Gold Key comics. Okay. These VHS tapes are important ones. They need to be taken downstairs. Gotta get this room where the dogs and cats can come in here again. I've got it shut off. There's 2 entrances to the room, and the room's been closed off, but I'm gonna make it where it's safe for all.